Hello everyone, I'm back for another update here. I'm currently hiking on the Fore Mountain Trail, spelled Fore. Not the number, but Fore meaning first. It's a 15 plus mile trail. It runs from Covington, Virginia to northeastward from there along the ridge line of Fore Mountain and ends at a trail junction where you can connect up with another trail, the end of this trail, that will take you to Dalzad State Park. And this trail again, I'm at the top of the ridge line of Fore Mountain here. It is blazed with blue trailblazers, turquoise blue it looked like. And it's not a very heavily used trail at all, as it's not part of the National Trail System. But looking on the maps, if you had determined you probably could hike exclusively on trails all the way into New York State by using connecting trails as you go northward and eastward from here. There are numerous, it's all national forest, and there's numerous trails that connect with this one as you go up in that direction. So anybody looking for a less traveled route beside the Appalachian Trail, if you were savvy with maps, you could probably map out a route exclusively on trail that will at least get you up into New York State from where I'm walking. But this trail is, as I say, it's not heavily used. It is overgrown in spots. And the blazes aren't really very frequent once you get beyond a certain point on the trail. But again, it's easy to follow. All you have to do basically is stay on the ridge line and go in a northeasterly direction, or southwest if you're going in the other direction toward Covington. I'm going northeastward right now. And yeah, as you can see, there's quite a bit of growth here. My plan for today is to probably hang a left on a connecting trail. I don't think I'm going to have quite enough time to get all the way to Dalzad State Park from here. It would be almost a 20-mile hike from the starting point one way. So what I'm going to talk about here is we do have, according to the National Weather Service, a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. I don't agree. I don't think it's really a hurricane. I don't believe the figures they're putting out on it. I look at the images and it's basically on life support. Why do I say it's on life support? Because it's just like a person on life support. The only reason they're alive is because of the machine that's helping them to breathe. If the life support was disconnected, the person would die within a short time. It's the same thing with this Francine, I think it is. It's on life support in the sense that they're shooting a constant stream of energy. Have been since it was in the Bay of Campeche. I'll look for a way to get around this tree. And they, satellite technology, they've been shooting, it seems like it shows up very well on the infrared images. And so it must be some sort of infrared wavelength energy they're shooting in from satellites to these systems to keep them going when normally they would have either not even formed in the first place. I'm still seeing white on the images. In nature, you almost never see white on the convection. The only way you can get to that intensity is if it's getting a lot of help from technology. Nature, that would almost never happen. If you look very closely at the images, you can clearly see that it's being intelligently done. It's not randomly occurring convection. I could see in the formation of this storm, I watched it closely, and they were shooting energy first down at the Bay of Campeche, then they moved it up 300 or 400 miles north, and they moved it southeast another couple of hundred miles. Like they were taking shots at it to hope that it, at least somewhere, they'd find a warm enough patch of water to get the thing going enough to call it a hurricane. Because, yeah, I did say the Gulf is tapped out, but doesn't mean there aren't areas in the Gulf that may have just enough heat in local spots here and there to where they could get the storm going if they hit the right area. But it's on life support. If they stopped the energy flow within 6 hours, the storm would dissipate and wouldn't be much of anything anymore after about 6 hours. Because if you watch closely, you can see the explosion effect. Like you'll see it starting to dissipate, and then suddenly another explosion of convection, and that will dissipate, suddenly another explosion. That's how you know it's artificial. Like it's not by chance that it's starting to dissipate, and then all of a sudden, magically, another burst of convection occurs just in the right spot to keep the thing going. Then they're claiming there's another depression out in the Atlantic. I watched it. Hard to say if they're going to manage to get that going or not at this point. I did say there'd be at least one or two more storms, potentially. And bottom line is the sun is helping things out a lot with all this, because again, the cosmic ray count continues down around minus 8% for the last 6 or 7 days now. I'm kind of baffled as to why it dropped so much. We haven't gotten any real solar storms lately or anything that would justify it dropping that much. So I'm kind of scratching my head over that as to why it hasn't rebounded, or why even in the first place that the ray count dropped as much as it did last week. Because it dropped more than it did during the solar storms back in May. So I'm kind of scratching my head on that. And I feel that perhaps that could be part of the reason they managed to even get this storm in the Gulf as far as they got it. And I hate to say that it's being manipulated. I would wish I could say it's all happening naturally, but it isn't. if things were left to nature, I feel that we could go through a 10-year period with no tropical storms if things were left to nature and the satellites all got shot out of the sky tomorrow. Let's say this hurricane would dissipate in 6 to 12 hours, what they're calling a hurricane. I don't even think it's really a hurricane. And the world would go without tropical systems till the next solar max hits. I mean, unless we got a lot of solar storms, we'd need a lot of them. Because I feel that the threshold at this point has already been crossed for storms developing naturally. Like, if satellites all got shot out of the sky tomorrow, and there weren't any satellites, we wouldn't see another tropical storm or hurricane for the next 10 years. Till the next solar max. Or possibly even longer. If we're entering a solar minimum, grand minimum, it could be decades before we see another hurricane. The only reason we're still seeing them is because they've developed technology to force a storm to develop where it normally wouldn't, to boost the numbers, to, again, continue their agenda. And I don't take sides politically. I don't believe divine powers favor one side over another in politics. Well, there are some people out there that go as far as to feel that Trump has the support of the divine. I don't agree with that. I don't think the divine would support anything political in this day and age. Maybe back when the Constitution was enacted, there could have been some divine intervention there, maybe. But presently, with the corruption in Washington, I don't mean to get into politics, I normally don't. I'm reading a book right now on the George W. Bush era and all the lies that went on back then. Now, I'm not saying the Democratic side is free from guilt. They want to institute policies that over climate change, which I don't agree with. We're entering a grand solar minimum, very likely at this point, and we need to prepare for cooler conditions, not warmer. And a symptom of that, again, is we're nearing the threshold of them not even being able to create a hurricane anymore. Even with all the technology they have, it took them 48 hours of constant interference to finally get this storm going enough to call it a hurricane, which again, I don't think it's really a hurricane. Maybe 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts in it. Cluster of intense thunderstorms that are again being artificially created that wouldn't be there if the satellites were gone tomorrow. It would dissipate in 6 hours. Out in the Atlantic, I know they claim there's a tropical depression and they're really firing energy at that system as well. It's probably not going to threaten the U.S. either, or that one isn't going to threaten. It's probably going to head up into the central Atlantic, even if it gets going somehow. But all in all, other than Beryl, it's been a very below average season. Of course, people add the stats from Beryl onto it, and it boosts the numbers in a lot of ways, but it's just one storm that they got very lucky with because of all the solar flares back in May. They got extremely lucky with Beryl. They managed to get it going, not only get it going, but get it going into a major hurricane. So what's the fall season going to be? I've had questions on temperature trends, and I feel that we've already had some near frosty nights here. It's only barely second week of September. It's a month ahead of average, so I feel that the fall, behind that, the effects of the Tonga eruption in 2022, January, are starting to wear off. The statistics uphold that on the water vapor. It's thinning out near the poles. So the last 2 winters we had a lot of water vapor present. It's heading back down now, the amounts steadily. So this winter isn't going to be as mild as the last 2, but I'm going to stop short of saying it's going to be cold, because it depends on how successful they are in manipulating the MJO to stay in the warmer phases, and it's in phase 5 right now, which is a warm phase for the eastern U.S., 2/3. And I said that December is going to be milder because usually around December 1st they start to try to manipulate the MJO in similar ways as they try to strengthen hurricanes. They enhance convection in certain areas to control the jet stream path over the U.S. to try to favor mild weather for most of the populated areas and knock the snowfall down. In populated areas, again, the same purpose, to get people to believe in global warming so that policies get enacted, people get voted into office that favor those policies. I mean, where I'm in favor of the Democrats is they want to institute price controls, and I'm in favor of price controls because things are getting out of hand with inflation, and it's something's got to be done. A lid has to be put. Humans have not, I hate to say, have not evolved enough as a whole to govern themselves and limit themselves. The rich people want more and more and more, and a lid needs to be put on it. The only way it will be stopped. A lid needs to be put on this greed, and it needs to be enforced. Until humans evolve enough as a whole so that that doesn't happen anymore. The Democrats are in favor of Nixon did it back in the 70s, the wage price freeze. I still remember that. I was a kid, but I remember it being all over the news. There have been measures taken in the past. And it's not really like totalitarianism. If they had put out Social Security now, they would say it's totalitarian, it's communist. And look at this view down below. And I'm trying to see if you could see I-64. You can, but barely, where that cutout is. I-64 runs through there, where that cutout is, and you can hear the traffic pretty loud. The ridge line runs right over there, just up the incline. So I don't take one side politically over the other. I don't get offended if somebody doesn't agree with me about global warming. I know there's a lot of people out there that totally believe in it, and I understand. Personally, I don't. That's where I don't agree with the Democratic side. Where I do agree with them is more measures need to be taken by the economy to stabilize things. I mean, if I was blowing through $1,000 a week on a camping trip, whereas just back in 2009, I went on a camping trip, I could get a camping spot for $15 a night. Most of the places I went to now, it's $30. It's more than doubled from what it was just 15 years ago. And something's got to be done. Otherwise, everybody's going to be priced out, or 90% of the population is going to be priced out of everything eventually. So it looks like we're coming up to another really nice viewpoint. Look at this stone wall here, side of the trail. And you can see I-64 from here, it looks like. Through the trees anyway. I don't know if I can get it on the edge. Let's see. Yeah, there's some sort of a facility down there. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you found this informative. I'll be back soon.